Hey everybody, it's Christopher Small, the owner of CMS Law Firm. We do estate planning, we do probate, we do it well. Today, I want to talk about estate planning and the silent real estate owner. Before we get to that though, I want to remind you, if you have questions about this or need help with this or anything else related to estate planning or probate, you can talk with us over the phone for free by going to estatemeeting.com. Okay, estate planning and the silent real estate owner. This is a question that I get fairly often, and I think it's a common practice when you have family and you have real estate and you need money, or you want to help people out. And what we do here, what the situation I'm talking about here is I talked to somebody today. They just bought some property and they are going to be the only people on the deed. They're going to be the only people on the mortgage. But they had a family member that contributed some of the down payment. They had a family member that is contributing some sweat equity, right? They're contributing some things to the value of the property. And they wanted to make sure that that person's interest was accounted for in whatever way was possible, so that if something happened to them, if they died or whatever, that the person that put this money in, the family member that put this money in, was going to be able to get the return on their investment in the property. Because if you just look at the property, it only is going to show, let's say like Jim and Sandy, I'm just making up names, Jim and Sandy own the property, and Susie, put some money in, okay? Jim and Sandy are the only people on the deed. Jim and Sandy are the people on the mortgage, and Susie is sitting over here. She's put some money in, and everybody wants to make sure that Susie's interests are covered in case something happens to them, or in case the house is sold or whatever. They just want to do all this on the up and up, and they want to make sure that it's right. So I gave them a couple suggestions. I'm going to tell you those suggestions right now. What I'll say is this: before you run off and do any of this stuff, please talk to somebody specifically. Every situation is kind of different, and what you want to do might differ depending on your specific circumstances, okay? So before you run off and do this and then blame me later if it doesn't work, I'm going to tell you what I did. It's a good plan, but just make sure you get some help before you do this, okay? Just like these guys did. They called me. And so what I tried to tell them to do, what I explained was, I would try to attack the problem from both sides. So you want to give Susie a way to represent her interest and sort of foreclose, if you will, on her interest if something happens. And Sandy and Jim, if that's their names, I wanted to give them a way to make sure that Susie's interests were represented if something happened to them as well, because everybody wants to make sure that everyone is taken care of. So what I suggested was they create like a contract or an agreement or even a receipt or something that shows that Susie invested X dollars into this property, that she invested X percent of sweat equity into this property, and so she technically owns X percent of this property. Then they both sign it, and then Susie basically can hold on to this document forever. Okay, there are some more details that are involved in there potentially, but that's the gist of it, so that if Jim and Sandy die, then Susie can bring this note, this contract to the estate and essentially make a creditor's claim for her interest of that property. Okay, hopefully that made sense. She basically would tell the estate of Jim and Sandy, hey, I know it looks like they own this property outright, but I have an interest in this. So when you sell it, I want my cut, is basically what they want to do. On the flip side, for Jim and Sandy, they're creating a trust. What I suggested that they do in the trust is to create basically a scenario where they are acknowledging Susie's 30% interest in the property and are making sure that she gets it, okay, within this trust. So they're not gifting an interest in their own part of the property, but they are just ensuring and calling out and notifying the trustee that there's a specific interest in this property. The other thing that they can do within this is also make it so that if Susie wants to buy the property out, if she wants to do other things, then she can, right? But the idea here is to tackle this from both sides. So on the one side, you've got Susie able to let the world know that she's part owner in this property. And then on the other side, you've got Jim and Sandy letting the world know via their trust or via their estate planning documents that Susie has an interest in this property. Hopefully, if you do both of those things, then somebody's going to see this, somebody's going to notice it, and everybody's going to be taken care of in the way that they are meant to be taken care of. Okay? So, to reiterate, if you are going to do this, if you are the silent owner of real estate, you may want to do something like this. Otherwise, it's very difficult for the world to know that you have an ownership interest in this property. Very often, or quite often, or pretty much all the time, people look to the deed to see who owns the property. And if you're not on that deed, then you have an uphill battle to prove that you have an interest in that property. The things that I just talked about help to demonstrate that. Okay, if you're going to do something like that, please go get some help from someone. It's worth it, right? If you're making a significant investment in some property, it's worth to spend a few shekels, to have somebody look over your stuff and make sure that you can actually get your money when it's time. All right, but that's it. So hopefully this helped. Like I said, it's something that comes across quite often, and the solutions are relatively straightforward and relatively simple, but they need to be accounted for in advance so that everybody is covered. All right, that is it. As always, if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you know someone needs to hear this, please share it with them. If you have a question or comment, please leave it. And if you have or need any help related to estate planning or probate, and you want to talk to me, talk to us over the phone for free, you can do so by going to estatemeeting.com. All right, that is it. I am Christopher Small. I am the owner of CMS Law Firm. We do estate planning. We do probate. We do it well. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you again soon. See ya.